Hello, hello. We are back. We are live. How's it going? We are on to another propaganda look here. So, have you ever wondered what it would be like if the Petroleum Institute of America launched their own form of propaganda? Well, wonder no more. We're going to get into that tonight. Again, you can see our historical content notice up there. The following program contains authentic, unedited material from various military eras and historical periods, including but not limited to World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Cold War, Operation Desert Storm, and other conflicts throughout the modern history. The material may include racial stereotypes, offensive depictions, graphic imagery, strong language, symbols of hate, propaganda, and historical viewpoints that reflect the attitudes, conflicts, and realities of their time. This material are presented as originally produced without alteration or censorship for the purpose of historical preservation, education, commentary, and discussion. Mission 4938 does not endorse the views, language, or depictions shown in the content. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. On this one, it's mainly revolving around propaganda. We're going to be hitting some pretty hard propaganda here. This one was created in the Cold War to talk about freedoms and choice, but it was paid for by the American Petroleum Institute. So the people that bring you oil products and everything else are the ones that paid for this propaganda that we're going to be going over tonight. We're going to be taking a deeper look at some of this propaganda. Last time we watched soft propaganda, which was them trying to change and affect the way you do things, maybe not necessarily your political views or your purchasing views, but looking both ways before you cross the street and things like that. The safety stuff, things that with that kind of propaganda, it's really a fairly innocuous thing. It's not really out there really trying to set something in standard. This one is hard propaganda. So be ready for that. We're going to be going through it. It's a short little video. It's kind of funny, but this is what we're going to go over tonight. And so without further ado, we'll kick right into it. And you have to love it when it comes in by Technicolor and John Sutherland. So you can see here it starts off already with kind of this dictatorship on Mars kind of kicking off into the field. Hey there, Caleb. How you doing? So you're getting that right off the bat. Dictatorship, everything's controlled by Og, kind of starting out to lead into this propaganda film.
unsolicited testimonial. And now, by special permission of the Commander-in-Chief, me, here is Mars' first space explorer, Colonel Cosmic.
So yeah, they kind of have the this communist feel to them, dictator feel to them, because again, they're trying to use humor to kind of show how utterly insane the idea is of having somebody with that much control. So again, that's another version of the propaganda that's put in here. We're going to be seeing a lot more of different propaganda takes as we go through this.
I can't tell you how happy I am to see your smiling faces once more. First, let me say that this trip was made possible only by our dauntless chief, Og the Magnificent, introducer of Og Power, which runs most of our industry, and inventor of Og Speed, which doubles the original Og Power. A short time ago, the master was having trouble with the state limousine. He had, of course, developed the explosive charge. But it was inclined to get a little out of hand, just slight. And of course, there was always the problem of friction. Parts rubbing together, heating up, and causing all sorts of trouble.
So again, we're seeing a little bit of the whole, we're building into that propaganda for the oil industry as they're talking about this, and you kind of see where they're going with it. So we'll see how this this progresses, as they're going to slowly talk about communism being bad and people having choice being good, but also oil being the thing that makes that happen. So we'll just keep pushing forward here on this.
But our leader was undaunted. He immediately ordered our first expedition into space to bring back the secret of how other planets got their state limousines to run smoothly. The target was picked with painstaking scientific accuracy. Destination, Earth. You all know with what eagerness I volunteered for the mission, and with what confidence I took off. I took careful bearings and set out for my goal. It seemed no time till I was approaching a country of Earth called, the United States of America. I set her down like a feather.
What's crazy is today seeing the cigarette ad there on a billboard, where I don't think you can actually even advertise on billboards anymore if you're a cigarette company. I know I haven't seen a cigarette TV commercial or radio like you would see in 1956 like you're seeing here on this. I don't know if it's the same thing in Canada or not, but they've drastically lowered the ability for them to advertise, and so seeing that's kind of still out of place.
What's all the racket? Naturally, I protected government property by making the saucer invisible. They're after the chickens, Ma! Though the natives showed great interest in me, I decided to make myself invisible, too. Seeing moving lights in the distance, I headed for them. What phenomenal luck! I had landed close to what seemed to be an endless procession of state limousines. They moved quickly, and yet with fantastic smoothness. I just had to get a closer look at one of those Earthmobiles. Just as I thought. Not only smooth and efficient, but powerful as well. I watched them for hours. Great Ganymede, they were superb. I just couldn't help comparing them with ours. if you call that a comparison. Surely these vehicles...
So if you're only 23, you probably have not seen a cigarette ad. I'm 40, a little over 40. Um, and so I remember as a kid seeing them in magazines and TV shows and seeing them on billboards, things like that. So what we're looking at here is you're seeing some of those ads. But again, they're trying to show this, oh, well, America must be fantastic because we have all these things that you wouldn't see in other countries. They're starting to build that propaganda piece a little bit further forward and slowly compile on it. I know there's a lot of jokes and humor with this and this little cartoon, but it's stacking the propaganda ever so much, where the most crucial point is going to be heavily layered, really heavy fisted, but there's all these other subtle little pieces of propaganda scattered throughout in here.
Vehicles must be the property of the highest officials. I was wrong. It seems that almost everybody in this country has one of those, they call them automobiles. They use them for transportation, for business, for pleasure. They use them for all sorts of things. I found that these vehicles gather at places called service stations, where they are fed, lubricated, that's how they beat friction, and given the...
Jumping again, another thing, if you're a little younger in the audience, you probably don't remember full service stations where you could pull in. It's even something I have to look way back on my childhood on. You could pull in, they would check your oil, they'd fill the gas up, top up your windshield wiper fluid, wipe down your windshield, wipe down the back window, all that kind of stuff. So kind of seeing it today, it seems like an odd thing, but that was at the time what they're showing. You'd pull in to get gas, somebody would pump it, they would check your oil, they would top you up with oil if you needed it, clean your windshield, top up any other fluids, and send you on your way for the cost of whatever the gas was.
Finest care. The source of their nourishment was something called petroleum. A power source like that must be a highly prized state secret. I had to find out about it. Perhaps the secret lay within this government archives building. It was heavily...
You've seen a couple of the propaganda cartoons. There's one where the people sell all their rights. I believe you are talking about Make Mine Freedom is the name of that one. And this is the same company that made Make Mine Freedom. And we're going to be covering a few of their other ones in some of our upcoming videos. So it's all in that same style, but they're really good examples of the propaganda of the 1950s. And so we're going to be showing a bunch of those same vein stuff. But you had the one where they sold the rights. The same company was taking money from other interests to kind of promote them as well. So this one, same company, but they're paid by the oil company this time to produce this.
Started, but casting discretion to the winds, I walked boldly inside. Their code was remarkably easy to break. They merely substituted the word oil for petroleum. And I soon got hold of a veritable mine of classified information. I began to assimilate the material. I soon found out that though petroleum products are easily found anywhere, petroleum itself is a very elusive substance. You have to search for it constantly in all the most likely and unlikely places with all kinds of scientific devices. When they figure they found a good spot, they drill a hole in the ground called an oil well, for almost all oil lies far beneath the surface of the earth. These wells go down thousands of feet and cost a lot of money to drill. But that's no guarantee that they're going to find oil. Matter of fact, in exploratory drilling, only 1 well in 9 finds any oil at all. Only 1 in 44 recovers enough oil to pay for itself. And only 1 in almost 1,000 makes a major discovery. Pretty big odds. Yet America's proved reserves, the oil supplies still underground, have kept increasing steadily. I couldn't imagine how this ever-increasing supply of oil was achieved until I found out that there's not just 1, but thousands of oil companies, all competing with each other to discover and develop new sources of oil. For believe it or not, in the USA, anyone who is willing to risk it can drill for oil.
So right there, they're tying capitalism with the search for oil. And you're right, how he can just put his hand straight through his helmet. The other one is, on his home planet, they're all still wearing their helmets. If you're on your home planet and you still have to wear an oxygen helmet, you got a problem. So I think that part's funny as well. But again, they're tying directly to the capitalism, to the search for oil and oil companies. And oh, well, if you have capitalism, you can't really get far without the oil and without the oil industry.
But oil discovery is only part of the story. Once they get oil out of the ground, it has to be moved through pipelines, on ships, or in tank cars, to fantastic processing plants called refineries. Crude oil goes in, and great Jupiter, the things that come out. Gasoline, for example, the most efficient mobile power source on Earth. That was the stuff that powered all those cars and trucks. And asphalt, which makes smooth, durable roads. It seems that oil not only runs cars, it even gives them something to run on. Another oil product is the diesel fuel, which runs giant trains across the nation. In winter, fuel oil made from petroleum brings warmth and comfort to millions of homes. And still other fuels help defend America's shores and skies. From refineries also come the lubricating oils and greases that keep the wheels turning in America. But that still isn't all. Crude oil, like everything else, is made up of billions of tiny molecules. And using the magic of research, oil companies compete with each other in taking the petroleum molecule apart and rearranging it into, well, you name it, fabrics, toothbrushes, tires, insecticides, cosmetics, weed killers, a whole galaxy of things to make a better life on Earth.
So we'll stop real quick. So as we're looking at this, part of what they're talking about here is really important. We have a big portion of capitalism. I've been on all continents except for one, and several countries, and kind of watching how things work. If you have a competitive capitalistic society that's focused on the actual competition part, it's the easiest way to drive down prices. It's the easiest way to produce new products. So you're taking oil and you're converting it into thousands and thousands of different products because they're wanting to make a profit. And a good example of this is when AI. So AI is the most recent thing. I think everybody that's watching this would know what AI is and probably remembers a time before AI. When AI first came out, it had very minimal uses. Now there's AI in almost everything, and everyone's competing to see who can be the top in the market. You can find everything from AI that helps answer questions and things, ChatGPT, things like that, to AI that can provide. I'll give an example that just recently I went to a VA appointment, and one of the doctors had recommended using this AI app. That it's not about getting counseling from the app. It was about you go through and talk to it, and it can help generate a report that you can send over to your psychiatrist, your counselor, to kind of let them see where you're at in your mind. That wasn't an original idea for AI. The original idea of AI was all this other stuff, and people decided, oh, I can do this and that, and change it and turn it into something where they have a competitive edge. And so that's what they're talking about here with petroleum. Again, that's being paid for by the Petroleum Institute of America, or the America Institute of Petroleum, whoever is paying for this. But that's what it's kind of showing, is that capitalist societies, you have the ability, and companies have the ability to take something and make it into something else. And so that's where they're really pushing this idea of the capitalism and competition in here. And you don't see that necessarily everywhere in every country, but America has been very good at being innovative and coming up with new devices and new designs and new technology and things like that. And so this part of the propaganda is a pretty good solid piece if you take out just the fact that petroleum being the only source of ingenuity. But it's still a pretty good on that one.
And you know, it isn't just oil companies that try to outdo each other, competing for the customer's dollar. The same story is true of almost every successful business enterprise in America. The result? A higher standard of living in the USA than in any other country on the whole planet. At last, the secret was mine. And now, to get proof of my discovery, smuggled past the border guards. In spite of my infinite precautions, one of them became suspicious and gave the alarm.
Come back for the eggs, did you?
Yeah, Pa!
And so, with the fond farewells of the natives ringing in my ears, I took off once again for Mars. My landing was a little bumpy, but I saved my precious cargo. Yes, I brought the secrets back with me, and here they are. The big secret is, of course, oil, which has brought a better life to all the people in the USA. But the key to making oil work for everybody is competition. Fellow Martians, I thank you.
Very interesting, Colonel. Oil, huh? Sounds splendid. But that, what was it? Competition. Not our kind of thing at all. Why, competition is downright un-Martian.
Oil? We'll have oil for everybody. That's all we need. Oh, boy, oil!
Look at them. You know what this means, Cosmic?
You bet I do, Og. It means that you're through. So why don't you get lost? Yes, the real secret is not only a great source of energy, but also the freedom to make it work for everybody. And if you have both of these things, any goal is possible. It's Destination Unlimited.
All right, so we'll pause there. So again, it's showing having competition and oil both would make you unstoppable. Yeah, no kidding. The U.S. After World War II had the highest standard of living. It's still up there today, I believe. What, number 13, somewhere in there. But as you're looking at what they're showing here, they're kind of showing this whole idea of we need to work on competition to drive the market. And that is another thing that the U.S. used to do a lot better at, I think, than they do today. Used to, there was a lot more looking into price fixing and price gouging. Kind of an example of what we're seeing today versus in the economy at this time is it used to be a thing. I know back in the 90s and early 2000s that Walmart would actually go out to all the grocery stores that are near them and all the other retailers that were near them, see what prices they had and reduce the price down under whatever their other store had. And so, and other stores were doing the same thing, going back and forth. It was driving the prices down. Now we're seeing a rise in something where a price is established and everyone agrees not to go under it. And so that kind of hurts the economy quite a bit. And you're seeing that along the lines in healthcare industry. You see that along the lines in other industries. It's still illegal to do. It's called price fixing. And when you see price fixing, it's kind of the opposite of the free market. Corporate collusion is kind of the enemy of free market. So we're not really seeing them crack down on that as much. And it's not just one era, not the other. I mean, you're looking at it since Bush Jr. all the way through today. So there's been Republicans and Democrats and all different other people in there. But there's a showing the whole idea that seeing actual competition makes everybody's life better. And it really does. If you have competition for labor, the price of that is paid for wages goes up, because if they're trying to compete to get better and better labor, they have to pay more and more and give more and more benefits. And you were seeing that in the 1950s when this came out. And when you're having competition over selling items, the price has to get lower while the quality has to get better. Because they want you to buy their product. And so competition is very healthy when it comes to an economy, when it comes to industry and buying and selling. Well, if everybody ignores the law, it might as well not even exist. And that's the kind of statement going back to like Teddy Roosevelt. If anybody knows too much about Teddy Roosevelt knew the laws on how things were supposed to be done and how things were supposed to be treated. There's a really good video out right now, or movie out right now, about Teddy Roosevelt's life. Or I think maybe it's a miniseries, and it was him talking to J.P. Morgan, and J.P. Morgan threw a fit and said, "You're coming after me and you're suing me. Don't you know I run things?" And Teddy Roosevelt goes, "Well, there's a law," and he goes, "I get around the law." And Teddy Roosevelt made the comment, "Not anymore." And all it takes is somebody in there, that is anybody out there enforcing those laws and fighting those competitions. I've got to see a few of them here in our town. We've had some people step up and go after price fixing, things like that, and it helps make life better. But that's what this whole thing was about. And it's a hard propaganda sell on competition, and of course the oil company, because American Petroleum Institute paid for this film. So that's where we're going to end our video for tonight. We have a couple other really good propaganda ones coming up. We're going to be taking a deep dive into propaganda for the Cold War, as we have coming in the next upcoming weeks, as well as looking at soft versus hard propaganda and kind of going over the differences a little bit more on those, showing examples of both sides and letting you be able to see those. Because again, part of what we're doing is showing out the propaganda, showing these very overt propagandas and also some subtle propagandas. Because if you see the propaganda from olden times, especially if you see things from 1950s that are way overt, you help spot them in today's world. And if you think that propaganda has stopped being a feature of our lives on a daily basis, then you're not noticing it. So but we're going to be pushing forward and doing a lot more of these, and we really hope Teddy Roosevelt is, if you ever get a chance, we have it on our channel if you want to go and find it. He has a speech called "The Man in the Arena." If I would recommend the poem "If," which we also have on our channel if you want to find it, and "Man in the Arena" to any younger man. I'm up over 40 now, but to any younger man, I would recommend those two poems, or those two. "Man in the Arena" is not even a poem; it's a speech. I would recommend that reading "If" or hearing the poem "If" and "Man in America." It kind of sets the status of what it is to be a man, and it's not necessarily just about masculinity. It's this is what you need to be a successful man. And I think both of those are great. But we'll end it there for the night, and we'll see you back tomorrow, I believe, later. I think we're going to be doing a late stream tomorrow. We have, unfortunately, a funeral tomorrow for a past state commander of the VFW, a really good guy named Bob McGill. He really set a lot of things in motion that were in our state and are still going on in our state today. He will be greatly missed. We're going to be going and doing his funeral. It's on the other side of the state. So Recon Sarge will be missing his normal stream. But if he doesn't stream tomorrow, I will. He'll probably pick up my Thursday then in exchange. But until then, as always, stay strong, stay true, stay Frankie.
national anthem.